Philadelphia Eagles here. Okay, this is going to be an interesting matchup for you this week. We can get into the Saquon Barkley stuff. I think he has made a difference here. I think your path to maybe stopping this offense, and I don't think this offensive line is as good as it's been in the past. I think they've got a couple of different spots that maybe, and we'll see with Micah Parsons and now with Carl Lawson a little bit, and maybe how they could, if you could get Philadelphia to throw the football. Now, the Dallas run defense has been a struggle. And when the Cowboys have played the Eagles in the past, they've kind of taken advantage of Micah Parsons. We'll see with Micah this week and, his availability. Hopefully he'll be back playing for you. I don't think this quarterback, his numbers are similar to running like he has in the past, but I think it's more out of running because of the offensive line than it is the RPO stuff and things like that.
He's just running away from pressure.
He's running away from pressure. And they're struggling. They're struggling on a couple of different fronts on their offensive line. They're a good run blocking line. I'll give them credit for that. The double team stuff. This Mekhi Becton, who they got from the Jets, who was a tackle, who was a busty kind of tackle with the Jets.
He's a massive human being.
He's a massive human being, but he doesn't have the foot quickness that you think about. I mean, the reason they're playing him inside is because he's not a quick guy. So there's where Dallas, you hear about us talk about Dallas and their problem with twist fronts or moving the front. Osa played really, really well for you last week. This is a spot I would look at with Mekhi Becton. And especially if he's so massive in the pass protection and all that, and the coming off in the running game, that's going to be a problem. But if you could get him to have to move with you, there's where I watched a lot of these pressures. I go back, I can break my film down and say, all right, just give me the pressures. They're having problems with Fred Johnson. He's the left tackle. Having problems with him with pressures. Having problems with the guy, the left guard, Landon Dickerson. Pressures there. Becton, the right guard. He doesn't move as quick. Cam Jurgens at center, they still do things like what they used to do with Kelsey when the center's uncovered, let's pull and get him out in space and that and stuff. And Saquon Barkley, he's done a really, really good job for them running the football. I think he's completely helped Jalen Hurts in this offense with his ability. You're going to have to worry about him not only running the ball, but in the passing game. 2 wheel routes. Watch both these wheel routes, 2 touchdowns, just off wheel routes. Now, I will say this. Him and Kenneth Gainwell, if they stay in and block, they give up some sacks. They give up some pressures. So this game is, to me, if you're going to have any real success against the Eagles, you're going to have to force these guys to throw the football. A.J. Brown is dealing with the knee injury. Dallas Goedert is dealing with a hamstring. In just watching the tape, if I had to say, what order would you say you have to, in importance of dealing with this Philadelphia offense? I'm going to take Barkley out of it just because we understand the running part of it. Throwing the football, you're going to have to deal with Smith. And then if Goddard plays, I would be worried about him. And then I would worry about Brown third is how I would play this out. Now,
oh, wow.
That's interesting because they have not won a game that A.J. Brown did not start.
I know. But I just, in watching the film and what this quarterback does.
Yeah.
Brown, don't get me wrong, Brown's a nice player. I think when Jalen Hurts gets in trouble, or he's like his.
I remember that from last year. He would look for Devontae Smith.
His progression is, give me the hook or the hitch, give me the cross with Smith, or give me the post with Smith. I think Brown, and then what you have with Dallas Goedert is the middle of the field stuff, the block, and kind of what you saw from Kittle. You don't need to get in one of these games again like you did against San Francisco where you put Wilson on Kittle and then said, oh, that's how we're going to roll. this could be. I think you need to treat Dallas Goedert if he plays. We'll see with the hamstring, but I'm acting like he's going to play. But I feel like though that's the order of progression that I would go with. But maybe this is about with Goddard and others that I would think about playing McQuamu on him, or almost treating him like a wide receiver, because it's not going to be like the down the field stuff like you get from Kittle, but it's underneath. It's the crossing routes. It's the it's the delay block, and all of a sudden he kind of sneaks out in the route. When you get down the red zone, you're going to have to worry about Smith. That's their guy that they're gonna try and get the ball to down there, because he does a great job of finding that space and getting open. He's really difficult to deal with. You're going to get this team runs a lot of 12 personnel, which is the one back and two tight end. But in Jacksonville last week, they went a lot of 11 personnel. They must have felt like that they had a better match. Now, it might have been because of Dallas Goedert being out too. Calcaterra, the other tight end, I think is a good player. He's a guy that when they get him en route, he does a pretty good job. He's not going to drop any balls. He wears number 81. And they played Jack Stoll last week. And so they were down with Dallas Goedert. I think that's why they played so much 11 personnel. But if Goddard's back, I would expect them to have to get back into their 12 personnel stuff. And that helps them in their running game. But, man, I'll tell you what, this offensive line, if you can get them to have to play in pass protection, that's going to be the trick in this one if you want to have a chance, I think, to kind of slow these guys down.
I mean, you purposely avoided Saquon Barkley in there, but is this a situation where they don't have to pass that much?
Well, I think that Barkley is going to, and I know I just took a little pause. Barkley and I mentioned this, he's done a great job for him, for the Eagles. They put him in that sidecar look where they shotgun snap, hand him the ball. He still is able to make cuts. He's powerful. He's got the vision and things. Cowboys have done a pretty good job in their history against him, but that's with the Giants with no offensive line, no quarterback, no real skill guys. I mean, he was the focus. He doesn't have to be the focus in this offense, but he's played up to his billing. He really has.
From study, like obviously we see them twice a year, but do you notice any Kellen Moore differences with the way that the plays they're running and either the design, like what they're doing offensively?
I think he has his plays are better because Jeff Southland, the offensive line coach, is a better coach, and I think that some of the stuff in the running game that they do
more creative,
much more. Yeah, and
it's really what he needed help with.
Yeah, that's what he absolutely. I mean, we've talked about that with the guy at the Commanders. Cliff Kingsbury. All of a sudden, hey, I don't have a real running game, and now I'm. You go out and you learn some things, pick up some things. I think Kellen Moore, with him being with the Chargers, but Jeff Southland, who is the offensive line coach,
one of the most respected in the league.
Guy is really good at it, and his offensive line, like I say, run like I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to when we get a chance to talk to Eric Kendricks tomorrow about the. I was watching with Canton, and this is something I just picked up when they're in shotgun, and Becton, he looks back, and as soon as he taps the center, like in a situation like they're going to be in a hostile crowd environment. Right. Well,
I think it's going to be a home.
Okay,
Philly home
just
crowd.
What I'm saying. There's going to be Cowboy fans at the game yelling. Okay, if you can.
Yeah, it'll be a couple.
But the Eagle fans are done. They'll cheer.
But as soon as he taps him, ball snapped.
That's every time.
Every time.
Oh wow!
As soon as, and I'm kind of thinking
that's rookie stuff.
If you're going to get off the ball, I'm going to ask him, like, Eric, hey, have you noticed that every time that Becton because he just taps Juergens and then the ball goes. So maybe you could get a little bit of, maybe they're watching film this week and thinking about how to get off the ball a little bit quicker, get into these guys. Because I started picking that up. I'm like, man, every time he touched him, the ball's being snapped.
You snuck in a little busty comment there on Mekhi Becton. Was that a man boobs joke? Is that what you were going for?
No. I was just going to the busty.
He does have moves.
Yeah, he's a big man, but they've got.
He's got moves.
They've got some problems
from one move guy to another.
They've got some things that if you just have to don't let them punish you in the running game. And Barkley can do that. You know, where they get in the pistol formation, hand it to him, sidecar formation, hand it to him.
They'll get. I would have to imagine, much like Atlanta and every other team, like they can just go get 5 or 6 yards anytime they want it by handing off the football. It feels like
their line is capable of doing that. Yeah, the way they run.
Well, and the Cowboys defense in particular, it seems like it doesn't matter who they go up against. That's going to be, unless it's the Giants or the Steelers, I guess. They pretty much don't know how to figure it out. The Eagles have been feasting. I mean, one way to get your offense going is just play a bunch of awful defenses, and they're on a run right now of that, because you score 15 points versus the Saints in September and 16 versus the Bucks, and then you go play bottom third in the league defense Browns, bottom third in the league defense Giants, bottom third in the league Bengals defense, and then the Jags.
They're on a run.
They're just tearing up bad defenses, and good news for them this week, much of the same.
Yeah, if I could, like I say, Fred Johnson, the left tackle.
Yeah,
that's where I try and get Micah. And I mentioned this, Barkley and Gainwell both poor. If they're trying to double guys, that could be a problem right there. That could be a problem for them, because both those guys have given up pressures and they've given up sacks. And Fred Johnson one-on-one, and they leave him one-on-one quite a bit.
I've never even heard of this Fred guy.
Fred Johnson.
Yeah.
Is this a new?
Freddie J.
We go up against the Eagles offensive line for so many years. You get familiar with the names, and all of a sudden they're running out of Fred, and he's turnstile.
Oh no,
sounds made up.
He was a college free agent with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the Eagles signed him. I mean, he's been with Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay. This guy's kind of bounced around. You know, in Philadelphia, had him on the practice squad a couple of years, so he's been in the system now a couple of years.